What can we expect from Justin Fields and the Bears? We talk about that next on the Unbearable Sports Podcast.
I'm going to take the North and never give it back.
So that's a good pick. You get the corner. I got to go bold, right? I got to go bold for this.
Yeah, she's got some nice.
Welcome back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Barron. Make sure to like and subscribe out there on YouTube and rate the show 5 stars everywhere that you get your podcast, especially out there on Apple Podcasts, because if you do, you will be in the running for a Darnell Wright jersey. We will announce the winner of that jersey once we reach 58 5-star reviews. Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. Welcome back to the show, and I hope you enjoyed it with your family. Also, I hope you enjoyed the Chicago Bears win over the Arizona Cardinals. Fun game to watch, like towards the end. It was a little bit nerve-wracking. I was a little afraid that we were going to, drop it and have another fourth game that we end up losing by where we were leading by double digits in the fourth quarter. But ultimately, we came away victorious. So you got to love that. You got to love that. I'll probably sprinkle in a little bit of my thoughts about the post-game piece because I didn't record a post-game show because of the holidays. But still, we're going to be talking about the Bears versus the Atlanta Falcons and really kind of break down that game. So let's get this show on the road, shall we? As always, let's talk about the injury report where, to me, the biggest news is Darnell Mooney. I think that Darnell Mooney, this was a self-reported concussion that he reported at the beginning of the week, and he kind of came in saying, hey, my head's hurt. So I saw some people kind of overblow this, that it's Darnell Mooney being like, I can't play, right? He self-reported it. It seems like very his character type of thing to report something like this, to say that he's not feeling right. But also we know that this year has not gone his way. And so he did not participate on Wednesday, and on Thursday did not participate. We've talked about this on the show plenty of times. When you don't participate on that Thursday with a concussion, it's pretty much you're not going to play on Sunday. So my big question, is this the last that we've seen of Darnell Mooney? And it's unfortunate if it is, just because Darnell Mooney has always been one of my favorite players. I loved him in the draft process. He was one of my favorites, someone that I thought was going to be a very good, a steal of a draft. And he has been for where the Bears drafted him and what he's been able to do. But this year, unfortunately, it just is not being put together. So this might be the last that we've seen of Darnell Mooney. I hope he's able to come together and play for the last game, but I won't blame him since he is going to be most likely looking for another prove-it deal and just kind of play somewhere else. My money is actually on the Kansas City Chiefs. I could see him going back with Matt Nagy. They need wide receivers. He probably just wants to prove himself, so probably a pretty cheap deal. I could see that happening for Darnell Mooney in the future. Just complete side note about Darnell Mooney. But let's keep talking about these injuries, because the only other one that's kind of notable is Cole Kmet, because we're talking about we need to see Justin Fields play well. Darnell Mooney most likely not going to play. Cole Kmet did not participate for the second day in a row with a knee injury. So we saw this kind of get aggravated when he was playing against the Arizona Cardinals. And to me, if this is a knee injury, every time that I hear knee injuries, I don't know the severity of it. Like, we really don't know too much about it. But anytime it's a knee that's very serious, or like that's something that I don't want to mess with, right? You already have him locked up to big money. You know this guy's going to run through a wall for you. To me, let him rest. Let him get healthy. Same thing with DJ Moore. We saw that even though that they're trying to say that it was just a minor ankle sprain that he suffered, it's still hard to see your franchise out there, like one of your franchise guys that you want to build around, kind of limping out there, right? To me, if someone's limping out there and someone's a little sore and they're Cole Kmet, they're DJ Moore, we already know that you're really good, right? Right? Just get healthy. That's what I'm really kind of focused on for you. But I think because of that, right, and also Atlanta Falcons, nothing too noteworthy from the injury front. But with that being said, I think that the big thing to me is I'm curious about what Justin Fields is going to do with the lack of weapons, because we know that this offense has struggled if your name is not either a running back or Cole Kmet or DJ Moore. Darnell Mooney has struggled, but even though that he struggled, he's significantly been better when you look at just the target and completion percentage compared to our third wide receivers. We have not gotten help from a Tyler Scott. We have not gotten help. EQ St. Brown's been banged up, right? But EQ we know what he is. He's kind of just one of the system players, but not necessarily like a big-time wide receiver that we want to make plays out there. Velus is Velus, right? I'm looking even at like a Colin Johnson, the wide receiver out of Texas that is on the practice squad. We saw a couple reps of him out there. He is a more natural wide receiver, more of a possession guy. I'm curious to see if he gets some reps at least. He's not going to be breaking people's ankles, but as a Texas Longhorn fan, I've seen him. He is a good wide receiver, and he's played well, and not well enough to be on an active roster, but at least a solid contributor at the wide receiver position. So I'm curious if he's going to get some reps. But let's start previewing a little bit more about this Falcons defense, because this Falcons defense is a little interesting. Because if you look at the stats on this Falcons defense, they're 8th in passing yards per game. Pretty good. We're at 197.5. They're 15th in rushing yards per game. So about middle of the road, 110.9 rushing yards and 3.9 rushing yards per carry, which is 8th. So you think that, okay, this is like a top 10 defense. This is pretty darn good. But when you look at the advanced metrics, and also, I forgot too, they're 10th in pressure rate with 22.9. So the stats are kind of in favor of the Falcons. But when you look at the advanced metrics, they say it's more of a middle of the road defense. 19th ranked defense according to DVOA, which is an advanced metric that kind of determines a lot of the advanced, more of over expectation. Like, did you perform well in these certain situations? But this defense is still good. It's a lot better than the Arizona Cardinals, so it's going to be a bigger test for Justin Fields. Because even though that Justin Fields started getting some of his weapons getting hurt, he was going against the worst defense in the league. And now he's going against this middle of the road, just a very solid defense. But also they don't blitz a lot because they're able to get a decent amount of pressure. I think that it's going to be very interesting to see what Justin Fields can do with the offense and what can he get going with the lack of weapons. Are they going to get creative? Are they going to be trying to, run a little bit more slants across the middle, kind of mesh concepts, where you're really just kind of having people drag across the middle when you have speedsters like a Scott, like a Velus, to try to get the ball in their hands to then have them make some big plays. Because it is going to be hard to throw it deep in the field because they have one of the best center fielding safeties out there, as with Jesse Bates. Jesse Bates has had a very good season, PFF's third highest graded safety in the league. So he's good. We already knew this, but he's also just showing it on the field, and the PFF grade also backs it up. But overall, also, you got to be thinking about AJ Terrell, where AJ Terrell, very good corner, and he was super locked down 2 years ago. This year, just a good corner overall. But he's someone definitely to watch out for, because we know that DJ Moore is the guy. We know DJ Moore is the person that Fields is going to be trying to throw it to all day. And, Robert Tonyan, he was better, when he was with the Green Bay Packers, but we really haven't seen that. So I'm looking for Tonyan to hopefully have a good game, because he has been a starter. He has been a solid tight end in the NFL. You're hoping that he can at least elevate himself, since the other wide receivers haven't been as good. But yeah, DJ Moore versus Terrell, that's going to be a matchup to watch out for, because, all right, Justin Fields, you're down a couple of these weapons. Let's see what he's capable of, what he ends up doing. Is he going to be running for a lot more yards, or is he going to be trying to pass it? Personally, I think he's going to probably be trying to run it a little bit more. And also, too, the Atlanta Falcons might like him as well. We know that he's originally from Georgia, so maybe if the Bears want to move on from Justin Fields, this could be a good little resume builder in front of their GM. So with that, let's move on to the next topic, though, because something that I find very interesting about this defense is that their defensive ends, not so great. But really where you got to look at this pressure, and the thing that I'm kind of concerned about is straight up the middle with Onyemata and Campbell. Now, Campbell will play as a defensive end every now and again, but if you look straight up the middle, Onyemata, PFF's seventh highest graded defensive interior player, and also Calais Campbell, 79.6, which is 23rd amongst edge rushers, according to PFF. Still very good. Like I mentioned, he can play inside, he can play outside. I'm really looking at that interior because we know what Lucas Patrick will do, right? And if we flip back over to the injury report, Tevin Jenkins has been a full participant with this concussion, so he should be able to come back so that you at least have a Cody Whitehair as a backup. But also, too, Lucas Patrick did not participate on Wednesday and was limited on Thursday, so something to look out for as well, right? Are we going to have Dan Feeney starting, or is Patrick going to be able to go? We'll see. But this up-the-middle pressure has been the Achilles heel of this Bears team, in my opinion. And actually, not really in my opinion, in most people's opinion, because when you look up the middle, Davis has not been playing like himself. Lucas Patrick has been playing not well, as we know, and Cody Whitehair, when he has been out there, has not been great. I really do think that that's going to be the big question mark, is the pressure up the middle, because that's going to be the key to the game, is you really need to kind of hunker down and hold it down. I think a good person to look out for is Roschon Johnson. I would have Roschon Johnson out there majority of the snaps, because you need someone to help with that pressure up the middle. I think that your tackles should be fine with Braxton Jones and Darnell Wright going against a Bud Dupree and a Carter, who are not great defensive ends they're not going to create too much pressure. It's going to be that up the middle. So Roschon Johnson, to me, needs a big game blocking, because I really just don't think that we're going to be able to stop them too much up the middle. But let's continue to talk about these running backs, where last game we saw Khalil Herbert look back. And we talked about it on this show that my bold prediction was 2 100-yard rushers, which, basically happened with Khalil Herbert and Justin Fields. I think that you're going to have a similar game plan, because even though at the Falcons allowed they have the fourth best yards per carry from a rushing defense perspective, I still feel like you can still get some yards against them since they're the 15th rated rush defense out there. So kind of middle of the road. I still think you're going to be able to rush it against them. But Khalil Herbert, is he back? We knew that he was banged up. We knew that he had an injury. And I think that Khalil Herbert now, is he going to be the lead guy? I don't really think so. Let me know what you think down in the comments, because I think that Khalil Herbert is good and I really like him. But like I was mentioning before, I think in these situations, Khalil Herbert still has not shown to be a good pass blocker, and Roschon Johnson has. I think you need that, especially with a Justin Fields, who needs that extra time, especially if his wide receivers aren't available to him. I think I would rather see Roschon Johnson out there, and also Deonta Foreman is a better pass blocker. He's not a Roschon Johnson in pass blocking, but Khalil Herbert has been a liability in that department. I hope that they give him a couple more more snaps than they were before, just to make sure that he can still run the way that he was, because that's the exciting part. When he's going and he's got that speed and he just seems to be, running through people. Reminds me of Nick Chubb when he runs like that. So I just hope that we kind of get that ground game going again, and I think that we're going to have to rely on that against this team, because we just don't have a lot of weapons out there, and Terrell and Moore really match up well, and Jesse Bates kind of taking away the deep portion of the field. I think it's going to be difficult for us to really get something going from a passing perspective. So that's just my take on it. But like I said, let me know what you think down below. But also let me know, who is your X factor? Because let's get into the X factors for the offense. Because to me, the X factor, someone who's going to transform it, who really kind of can sway something one way or the other. my X factor is actually going to be Bobby Tonyan. Robert Tonyan is going to be my X factor because I'm curious to see what can he do at that tight end position, because he hasn't been very good for the Bears. But we know that he knows this offense. We know that he's been a solid tight end, and now his number's being called. He has to step up to the plate. And if you don't have Mooney and if you don't have Kmet, you need another playmaker. You need another person besides DJ Moore that Justin Fields can rely on. So that's why, to me, my X factor for this offense that can really kind of sway this offense is Robert Tonyan, because Fields and Kmet have a very good connection. And if Kmet ends up not playing with that knee injury, Tonyan is going to be a big person that needs to step up. But that's my offensive X factor. Let's flip over to the defensive side of the football, where let's kind of break this down, because this is one of the weirdest offenses, the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons offense, it seems like they never unleash their stars, because you look at the team and they have stars on this team. And if you look at the stat sheet, it doesn't look that way. And if you're a fantasy owner, you know this all too well. Kyle Pitts is a good receiving tight end. He is an actual good tight end. He's just not used in this offense. Drake London has been a good wide receiver. He's just not used in this offense. Bijan Robinson, good running back, not used in this offense. They like giving it to Tyler Algier, who averages less than 4 yards a carry. That's the big question mark when you go against this offense, is are they going to actually use their stars, or are they not? And they're just going to kind of run this bland, vanilla type of offense that doesn't get anybody excited from a fantasy perspective, and if you're a fan of the Atlanta Falcons. Also, too, they do have stars up front. Chris Lindstrom has quietly become the best guard in football. He was outrageous last year, and this year continuing this amazing play. Also, Dahlman quietly is a very good center as well, mainly from the run blocking department, but not a lot of people have heard of Drew Dahlman. He's a very good and solid center up front. But that, to me, is the big question. Are they going to actually use their stars? And when you look at last week, it seemed like they were at least starting to use them a little bit more, which is bad news for the Chicago Bears, because you saw Bijan getting, quote unquote, a bulk of the carries with 12, while Algier had 9 and Cordero Patterson had 7, right? Just feed Bijan more. He's the better running back out of the bunch. But also receiving, Bijan had 7 catches for 50 yards, so really was being used out of the backfield. Kyle Pitts had a touchdown on 3 catches for 49 yards. Drake London, 3 catches as well. I could see them trying to take advantage of their good players a little bit more, especially with Arthur Smith might be on his way out for the Falcons. We'll just see, but a lot of star power, right? So I'm looking at Jalen Johnson. Can you shut down a Drake London so that they have to beat you with other wide receivers, with a Van Jefferson, right? And also with Bijan Robinson, this is going to be a very good test for our linebackers. Bijan Robinson is a very good pass-catching running back, and Cordero Patterson, we know him. We know that he's a wide receiver playing running back. I think that you need to have these linebackers and also like a Jaquan Brisker be very disciplined to stick on these players, because they can just sneak out of the backfield and make a big catch and make that big play. But let's flip over also to the last little piece that I wanted to talk about is just, this is a scrappy team. And I think that because of also like a Taylor Heineke, he's going to be getting the start for them because Desmond Ridder had them lose against the Panthers. I think that Heineke, no matter where he is, how he plays, he's just a very scrappy quarterback. He's only averaging 181 passing yards, but the guy, he can run. He can dump it off. It's going to be a difficult game, right? So you just have to play good 4 quarters against this team because Heineke can make you pay. He's going to be risky. He's going to be scrappy. The Bears just have to be very disciplined and play good 4 quarters, because if they can, I think that they can ultimately come away with a big victory. Also, another key with these offensive linemen versus the defensive linemen, I think a lot of their pressure is going to have to come on the outside. Storm Norton, their right tackle, I'm hoping that we can kind of take advantage. He's not a terrible tackle by any means, but it's just when you go against Montez Sweat, what Sweat has been able to do, I really do think that that is a opportunity for Sweat to make a big play and just keep on stacking up some more and more sacks. You love to see it, right? You love to see it. So let's go over to the X factors for this defense, for the Chicago Bears. And to me, when I think about what can really kind of take control over this team, I think that's someone who has been playing some very good ball the second half of the year and has been a very, very huge contributor that I haven't talked enough about. Jaquan Brisker, to me, is my X factor for this defense because Jaquan Brisker coming down from the strong safety position, you have a Kyle Pitts, you have a Bijan Robinson. The speed of Brisker should be able to make and cover some of these players, cover a Bijan out of the backfield, cover a Patterson out of the backfield, and also be able to cover a Kyle Pitts. I think that that is a key matchup. And if he has a good game, and if he's able to help lock those players down, I think ultimately the Bears defense gets the best of the Atlanta Falcons. So let's continue on and let's talk about the predictions, right? And you already know the drill. Let me know down below in the comments, what do you think the final score is going to be? And who's ultimately going to win? And also one big bold prediction. And I'll say last week, I was pretty darn close. I guess 31-10. I thought that the Bears were going to win by a large margin. They were close before they threw an interception in the red zone. I think I was even going back and forth saying maybe 27, but ultimately I went with 31. But also, like I said before, 2 100-yard rushers, which basically happened, right? I don't know if Fields ended up getting the 100 yards, but let's talk about the prediction, shall we? So when I look at this game, like I said, Falcons, I think, are a scrappy team. I think that this is going to come down to the wire, and I think ultimately, I just don't see the Bears. I think that the Bears are playing as a better team, but I think with the lack of weapons, assuming Cole Kmet doesn't go, assuming that Darnell Mooney doesn't go, I just don't think that this offense, I'm thinking maybe the offense doesn't capitalize, doesn't do as great as we want. I think the Falcons end up winning, I'm going to say 20-17. I don't think it's going to be a too fun game to watch, but we only have a couple games left in the season. I think ultimately the Falcons end up winning, unfortunately. But bold predictions, it's always tough to guess a bold prediction when you predict that the Bears are going to lose. But I think I'll go with Robert Tonyan over 50 yards. Is that bold? That might be bold. If Kmet doesn't go, I think he goes for over 50 yards or over 60 yards. I don't know how bold that is, especially since I'm basing this off of he usually gets like a catch every 3 games, every 4 games. So it's not a sexy pick, but that's my bold prediction. Like I said before, let me know what you think down below in the comments. But also, we got to do what everyone wants. The coin flip bracket, where it actually chose heads last time and said that the Bears were going to win, and it was right. So let's see what it ends up doing. Heads means Bears, tails means we lose, and heads. Second week in a row. This app went heads, so that's it. You already know that the Bears are going to win. The coin flip app said it themselves. Bears win, but we'll see what ends up happening. I'm excited to watch it. We only have a couple weeks left, a couple games left. Cherish it. Enjoy it. I'm a Justin Fields fan. We don't know if he's going to be the quarterback next year. Enjoy this. He's fun to watch. Just have fun with it. And also, Twitter wisely. Be nice to people out there on Twitter as well. If you're out there, it's been a civil war out there amongst Bears fans. Let's just enjoy it. We all want the Bears to win. I hope they are. I hope I'm incorrect and we end up winning. I just want to see some victories for our Chicago Bears because, man, this defense has looked good. But if you're watching this late into the video, make sure to like and subscribe. out there on YouTube. Also, rate the show 5 stars. Got a lot more content for you. And with that, Unbearable Sports Podcast, we are out.
Yeah, she's got some nice long hair, and you know that she's a bad